What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. Billboard is back with more controversy than ever before. They just named their 10 greatest rappers of all time list. They actually put it out last week, and it's still being debated and making its rounds. So I felt like it was still a relevant topic to discuss. So I'm gonna read off the list from 10 to 1. At number 10 is Lil Wayne. At number 9 is Kendrick Lamar. At number 8 is Ghostface Killer. At 7 is Lauryn Hill. At 6 is Andre 3000. At 5 is Nas. 4 Rakim. 3 Eminem. 2 Jay-Z. And number 1 is the notorious B.I.G. First off, before I even debate and discuss this, I'm falling into Billboard's trap. I'm falling into the trap that everybody falls in every single time that we have a best list, like a best albums of the year, or even the Grammys. You know, anything that you can like debate about, you know, stuff like that is subjective. The Grammys can give you best album of the year, but truth be told, the term best is subjective. So just because you say something's the best doesn't mean it is. And this is not Billboard naming their favorite rappers. This is them breaking down and calling them the greatest rappers of all time from, you know, hip-hop's inception up until now. So it's a pretty huge claim. And so I went to Billboard's site because I wanted to know more about the process of like how they chose stuff. But unfortunately their list is merely a photo, the artist's name, and then one paragraph, you know, kind of discussing like their just the artist. Like, you know, if you're talking about Ghostface, you're going to talk about how he was in the Wu-Tang Clan and broke out and had a lot of solo success, and, you know, he's been putting out consistent music for 2 decades, stuff of that nature. But it doesn't really explain like why this guy was picked, why this guy over this guy. And I think if you're going to do a list like this, at least you gotta stake your claim. You gotta talk about why these people are here. So to say it, there is no way to say the greatest rapper of all time because it's subjective. I can say who I think is the greatest rapper of all time. You will probably have a different opinion. I can tell you who my favorite rapper of all time is, and I would be right because it's my favorite. But the term greatest, best, all those like subjective terms I've never been a big fan of. But here I am falling into the trap because, you know, I don't know what it is about, like, when we see these lists. We know these lists are going to cause controversy. This is nothing new. We've seen greatest rapper lists. We've seen hottest MC lists. These are things that we've seen, and every year somebody manages to, you know, strike a fire in the internet, and we discuss it and break it down, even though, like I said, it's a subjective type of thing. But as a list, I mean, it's not bad. I don't know if I would put Andre 3000 in the top, mainly because, I don't know, I feel like he had one hell of a run with Outkast. You cannot deny that. But as a solo artist, you know, he hasn't really had that big of a run. And when you kind of discuss that, it's like, where did that, you know, Andre 3000 being, you know, one of the greatest rappers of all time really come from? It's interesting because I don't remember anybody really saying that before I was like on Twitter, and, you know, nobody at my schools was saying that. So it really became like an internet thing, and I feel like it has to do with his guest features in the last, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hell, the last decade. Because I don't think he's dropped a bad guest feature in, you know, the last 10 years at least. Every time you hear Andre 3000, he always delivers something so cold and with multiple layers. But at the same time, I don't feel like he's had enough of a solo career to warrant being one of the top 10 greatest rappers. Ghostface, I feel like it's hard to like break this down because it's just like weird. Like, I don't want to discredit any of these artists, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, like Rakim. I want to have I don't even think Rakim would be in like my maybe top 30, 40, even 50. I was never a Rakim fan. I respect everything that he did for the culture, but I was never heavy into his music. Maybe if I sat down and ran through his discography, I'd have a different opinion, but I don't feel like, you know, anything that I have heard have really stuck out to where I'm like, okay, I gotta go rush and listen to this guy. Not like, Notorious B.I.G. where, I'd hear, after his death is when I really, heard about him, because in the 90s, like 97, I was like 6. I was like 5 or 6 at the time, so I wasn't really listening to rap. I was more concerned with the Rugrats and stuff of that nature. But I went back and listened to Biggie, and his singles are what drew me in, because I remember hearing, his singles on the radio. Once I was actually listening to radio, and then it made me want to go listen to his 2 albums. And then I also have Biggie duets. I also have the first album they put out after he died. That was, it had like the Dead Wrong Eminem. I remember it had like the Hot Boys, or like Lil Wayne and Juvenile, Too Short. Like it was like a Biggie collabs type of project, because I remember a lot of the material wasn't finished, so that's what they did. Out of this list, though, if I had to throw in my opinion about who would stay on this list and stay in the top 10, and maybe not necessarily where they would rank, but in the top 10, I would definitely keep Biggie. I would keep Eminem. I would keep Nas. I feel like it's too early to keep Kendrick Lamar, but I feel like if he keeps, delivering great music, he can definitely be in that conversation, 5-10 years from now. And I'd keep Lil Wayne. Those are the definite ones that I would keep. I mean, you can't deny Lil Wayne. I grew up in like the best rapper alive era. That was when I really got into the internet. And so I was there to witness, all the Wayne leaks, all the continuous guest features, and he's had a bigger impact on me than some of the, other rappers that made the list. So I would definitely keep him up there. He might be in the top 5. And that's excluding, like, I don't look at it like now he's not as good. I've talked about this a lot on my channel and in various videos. I don't feel like Lil Wayne is good in 2015, but I don't feel like it's damaging his legacy, because the records that he did put out, from like the Carter 1 to, like 2009, 2010 were so good that those are records that I'm going to play forever. There's like over 100 records there that I'm going to enjoy. One thing that stood out, though, in Billboard's actual write-up was the fact that the last line was talking about how, for number 1, for Biggie's spot, they said that Biggie has never dropped a single bad song or a single bad bar. And I think that was probably like one of the most debatable things about the whole list, because, I mean, there's definitely bad Biggie bars out there. I remember the one in particular where he says that the girl's so fine that he'd suck her dad's dick just to get with her or something like that. That one's bad. Like, you can't defend that. And then a single bad song, I mean, it depends on your taste. I mean, I don't think I skip anything on Life After Death, but if their thing is just on the 2 albums that he dropped when he was live, then I can maybe understand the claim. But if they're talking about overall, I feel like there was records on Born Again. That was the first Biggie album that came out after his death. There's records on Born Again that weren't really good, and whether that's a reflection on, Biggie, or the fact that, Bad Boy wanted to put out this album that was, unfinished, and then had all these rappers, whatever. So that was, an interesting line. That was the one that stood out to me. But, like I said, these types of things are all subjective. It doesn't matter who the greatest rapper of all time is. It matters about who your favorite is. Who's the artist that really have had an impact in your life more than anybody. And that's all I have to say about the list. It's hard to debate it, especially when I'm talking basically to myself in my mind and all that about this list. But Billboard got what they wanted. They're definitely going to see the traffic. They see the discussion on social media, and people are writing their rebuttals and making rebuttal videos. And this is mine. But I would love to know your thoughts on Billboard's 10 greatest rappers of all time. what artists, you know, would stay on the list if you were to reconstruct it? What artists would you add? I noticed two artists that I would probably include: LL Cool J and Ice Cube. I love both of their discographies. I think I would definitely include them on the list if I were making something of this nature. But again, that's just me. But I would love to know who you would have on the list. Who would you take off from the top 10 that they did? Um, would you rearrange it? Is Biggie number one in your eyes, or you know, is Eminem, Nas? Who's the number one in your eyes? So you know, just like you know, hold a discussion. Let's talk about it in the comment section below, and then afterward, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain. And as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.